This nibble originally aired on RSBANDB Update, episode 819, The World Guardian's Path. Enjoy.
So how do you think about, like quests, of course, are very, they come out now, but there might be players not doing it now, or they might be doing it in, new players coming into the game in the future might go into the dungeon first, then do the quest. How do you think about sort of sequences of events when you do storytelling like this?
Yeah, I mean, there's a question. There's an implicit question there about requirements. Ultimately, I think to an extent we have to meet the players halfway. So if we're imagining a new player, if we think about, so obviously I'm not going to tell you anything about the upcoming content, but if we think about the example of God Wars 1, that's not something that a new player would jump into anyway. They wouldn't just start the game and jump into that. That's a journey of weeks or maybe months away to actually get started on that content. Now, some of the content that we produce is aimed at both high level and low level players, and sometimes we're sort of, only thinking about low level or high level. But in that regard, I'm not too worried about a brand new player getting caught up on the story of mid to high level content, if that makes sense.
Right.
But also in general, I think different pieces of content matter to different players. So if we think about different types of category of player, I take that quite seriously in terms of we have our lore players who take the story extremely seriously. We have our PVMers. So some players are both. We have PVM lore players, but if we think about the PVM community as we think about them stereotypically, they're not really bothered about lore at all. They don't care who it is they're fighting. If they look cool, that's fine. So the story, the way I see it, is the story is there if you want it. If you play the content, say you're new to the game, and someone says, "Oh, you've got to go do Elder God Wars. That's cool content. You've really got to do it. It's amazing." Great. Okay, so I grind my way up to do that content. If I'm a lore interested player, I can say, "Well, why does this dungeon exist? What's going on? Why is this content happening in the way that it is?" The content is all there for me to go back and look back and find out the story.
Right.
At once my interest has been piqued by the content itself. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So this seems to tune into this sort of, it's a bit of a trend we've seen with storylines, right? Where a lot of the quests are sort of clean breaks. Like Desperate Times, for example, had no story requirements, and As an Adra, I think, doesn't have any quest requirements really. What do you see as sort of the benefits and the drawbacks of that approach?
I'm quite a strident, not no quest requirements, but say less quest requirements type guy, right? This is one I spend a lot of time on the official RuneScape Discord, talking to people about various different game design issues. I'd encourage people to come on and join in the chat if you want to. But that's that question of should quests have hard requirements? The classic example of Ritual of the Marjarat having, requiring essentially every quest in the game at the time of launch. Whether or not that makes the key argument, I think, is whether or not requiring quests aids in the enjoyment of the story or detracts from it. And my feeling is that an intimidating list of requirements discourages participation in the first place. So on that basis, I am against not quest requirements entirely, but long strings of old content being required to do new content. If I'm ultimately I don't want to be too cynical about it, but our job as content creators is to create cool sounding content. But we always want to get. We have two audiences for our content, essentially. We have people who are currently playing RuneScape. We want to keep providing you with great content so you keep playing RuneScape. But also there are people who've lapsed out of RuneScape, and we want to provide cool content that causes you to come back to RuneScape. I don't want to say either of those audiences is more important. They're both very important. But we can't forget those people who've lapsed out of RuneScape. They're not keeping up with current stuff. And our job is to say, well, obviously we didn't please you in the past. Let's do even better and provide something even greater that piques your interest and brings you back. And in that regard, if we bring out a cool new piece of content that's got good marketing campaign and really cool artwork and assets, and think about the As an Adra quest or the Elder God Wars trailers, they were cool, they got a lot of attention, they intrigued people did come back to RuneScape to see what that was about. If we say, okay, we've brought you in for As an Adra quest. Now you have to go do all of Anachronia first. You have to complete several quests. You have to go do a lot of archaeology. Actually, we did require archaeology, but not 107 archaeology. We want people to be able, in reason, jump into the content that we've sold them on, if that makes sense. The thing that we've tried to get them excited about is what we want them doing. Obviously, there are huge limitations on that because RuneScape is a skill-based game. It is about that investment and earning of unlocks, right? So it's not. If every piece of content had no requirements at all, including skill requirements, that wouldn't feel right? That wouldn't feel like RuneScape. But there's a balance there.
You can find full episodes of RSBANDB Update right here on this YouTube channel. If you found this video useful or just enjoyed it, like and subscribe, or leave a comment.